Hello class. We are going to begin today by reviewing the phonograms that we learned yesterday because we learned about 9 new ones. All right, we want to make sure we get those in our head as quickly as we can. The faster we do that, we can start our spelling words, we can start writing sentences. So we want to make sure that we're working hard to memorize our phonograms. All right, so I'm going to do it kind of like a quiz. I'll tell you the sound. If you don't remember it, draw a line below the baseline. Then when I write it, you'll go ahead and cross it out and write it incorrectly. All right, the first one is the of her. What are you going to write? Good, the of her. So say it while you write it. This is our the of her. So if you didn't, of course it should be underlined. That's why I write it on the board sometimes, is because this doesn't have it underlined. Maybe I will write it on the board because it bothers me that there's no underline there. The of her. Then we'll leave a clock space. The next phonogram is the of hurt. What are you going to write? Good, the of hurt. Say it while you write it. All right, class, this is what my the of hurt looks like. So if you didn't have that, or if you had a line below the baseline because you couldn't remember, write this in, saying it while you write it. This one I'm going in the order we learned them yesterday to help us out. So next is going to be the of bird. What are you going to write? Good, the of bird. Say it while you write it. Right, make sure you're leaving clock spaces. This is our the of bird. All right, our next phonogram is the of worms. What are we going to write? Good, the of worms. So remember, we're going to need 3 letters for that, even though 2 are only the part that says So say it while you write it. All right, so our the of worms, we need this first, even though it doesn't say but it makes the other part say Now I know I need to underline, but am I going to underline all 3 letters? You're right, I'm not. I'm just going to underline this part because this is the part that says This doesn't say it just makes it so this can say All right, our last is the of early. What are you going to write? Good, the of early. Say it while you write it. All right, now that one we need 3 letters to say the So this is our, leave a clock space. The of early. All right, if there were any of these that you did not get, I want you to pause the video, write them 3 times, and say them while you write them. Right, after that, you can unpause it and finish up. All right, the next phonogram that we're going to write is wha, wha. So write that and say it while you write it. All right, our wha is our first letter and then the second. Make sure we always underline to show those two letters go together. All right, if you didn't get that one, I want you to pause the video, write it 3 more times, saying it while you write it. The next one I want you to write is the phonogram that says E. So that's not going to be our E, because that has 2 sounds. What's the one that just says E? So write that and say it while you write it. All right, this is the phonogram that just says E. Remember, if it helps you, you can say E double E. Always says E. All right, so if you didn't get that one, again, please pause the video. Write it 3 times, saying it while you write it. If you're following my directions exactly right now, you are showing the virtue of integrity. Because you could just wait and copy, but you'd only be hurting yourself. So if you're doing it right, you're growing your brain and you're growing in virtue. So that's wonderful, and thank you. All right, next we're going to write What are you going to write? Good. So write that and say it while you write it. All right, this is our and make sure you have a clock space. And of course, we underline to show that those 2 letters go together to make those sounds. All right, if you didn't have that, please pause it, write it 3 more times, saying it while you write it. That saying it while you write it is really going to help you remember the sounds of this. All right, our next one is sh, used at the beginning of a word or the end of a syllable, but never the beginning of a syllable after the first one, except for the ending ship. I know that's long. We just say, it's all right if you just say shh. I just want you to hear that rule so you get used to hearing it. All right, so write your shh and say it while you write it. All right, this is shh, used at the beginning of a word or the end of a syllable, but never the beginning of syllables after the first one, except for the ending ship. All right, so if you didn't have this, pause the video, write it 3 times, saying it while you write it. These are all of the phonograms that we learned yesterday. All right, let's throw in a couple more ones that I know some of us were struggling with from the first 26. So the first one I want you to write is ya, I, e. What are you going to write? Good, ya, I, e, and say it while you write it. All right, class, this is our ya, I, e. Ya, I, e. All right, so if you didn't have that, pause the video, write it 3 times, saying it while you write it. All right, the last phonogram we'll do now is u, u, u. What are you going to write? Good, u, u, u. So say it while you write it. All right, this is our u, u, u. All right, and then since these are both just one letter, that's why I didn't leave a clock space between them, and there's no underlining, as those are just two separate phonograms. We only leave the clock space if it's two or more letters. All right, nice review, class. We're ready to learn some new phonograms now.